Hi, JUMPSTART volunteers. My name is Ashley Ray. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, have been working in crisis intervention for nearly 7 years, and have been working with children and adolescents since 2002. We're super excited that you've chosen to volunteer for JUMPSTART, and you're about to take part in quite an adventure and impact these kids' lives for the better, potentially for the rest of their life. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what to expect with this population, because this population of children might be different from the nieces, nephews, sons and daughters that you already work with in your daily lives. To give you a little bit of background and statistics about the homeless population and the children in homeless shelters, it's at 3%, there's 3 times the rate of PTSD with individuals that reside in shelters. There's 2 times the rate of substance use disorders than the general population. As far as the kids go, 1 in 7 have moderate to severe medical issues that may be impacting their mood and their physical wellness on a daily basis. And some shelters have reported that greater than 40% of the children in their shelters have witnessed domestic violence. Greater than 80% have been exposed to some kind of violence in their environment. Greater than 35% have witnessed drug abuse in front of their very eyes. Over 20% have been physically abused, and an additional 20% have experienced sexual abuse of some kind. In addition to that, greater than 15% may know someone close to them that's been murdered. So a couple of things that you can expect from these kids: they are dealing with a lot of emotional trauma. They've seen a lot, and they tend to have a lack of role models in their life that teach them how to deal with that trauma that's coming up. Children who witness violence, and again, that's over 80% of the kids that are in a shelter. Of those kids, they're more likely to exhibit aggressive behaviors, they're more likely to be fearful, they're more likely to have clinical depression and anxiety disorders, and they're more likely to rely on violence as a way to resolve the conflict that they experience in their everyday life. So there's some approaches that you can take when working with these kids. And there's a really good model with some research behind it on how to interact with these kids, how to discipline them, how to have them listen to you, how to provide them comfort. And the model's called the trust-based relation intervention. It's based on 3 things: empowerment, connection, and correction. So what I mean by empowerment is not only being able to inspire the children, but it's also about attending to their physical needs. So this is oftentimes their sense of their basic needs being met and their sense of safety in their environment. You want to be sure to be providing an environment and interactions where they can feel safe. You want to be sure to provide an environment where they can predict what's going to happen. The unknown can rise their anxiety up. So a couple of things is you can tell the kids at the beginning of your interactions if you have a problem or if you're struggling today. You can speak to staff member X, Y, and Z. Sometimes at the beginning of your JUMPSTART evenings, you might find that you're assigned to a few kids. And those kids, you're the point person for those kids. You're the person that they can come talk to if they're struggling while they're there. You want to script for them what to expect, provide them transition alerts, and set expectations, and also let them know how you're going to get their attention throughout the evening. So what this might look like is this activity is going to take 20 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you're going to hear me ring this bell. That's going to let you know that we only have 5 minutes left before the end of this activity. At the end of the activity, you're going to hear me ring this bell again. Once you hear me ring this bell, what I need you to do is come back and form a circle where we can get together and talk about what we just experienced. So in that phrase, you noticed me let them know what's going to happen. So it takes the unknown out of it. It can lower their anxiety. You let them know that there will be a point in time that marks a transition for them at the 5-minute mark. You let them know that you're going to be getting their attention by ringing a bell, and then you provided them with an expectation on what's going to happen once, what you need to see happen once the bell is rung. That's all about empowerment, as far as inspiring the kids, making them feel good and safe, asking them, would you like a hug? Would you like a high five? Would you like a pat on the back? Giving them that choice over their body and how to interact with you is incredibly empowering to them when they don't always live in a world where people are asking them how they'd like to be touched or not touched. The second step of the trust-based relation intervention is connection. This is all about paying attention to their attachment needs, their needs to have human relationships and healthy interactions. A couple of things you can do is monitor the children's mood, anxiety, their agitation levels, but also monitor your own mood, your own anxiety, your own agitation. If you see a kid acting out, that might quickly rise anxiety in you. That makes it more challenging for you to think clearly on how to redirect that behavior. So if you notice your own anxiety rising, your own agitations rising, that's a point to take a breath, breathe into the belly, extend your exhalations, and find yourself relaxing for a moment before you actually interact with the kid. After you do that, you're going to be more successful interacting with them because you'll be thinking clearly and logically on how to redirect them. If you can monitor the kids' anxieties and agitation, you can preemptively get ahead of potential negative behavior that's about to happen. So some things you might notice, you'll notice things emotionally and physically from them that tells you that they're feeling more anxious or agitated. They might become more fidgety. They're having a hard time sitting still. They start to get whiny. You notice them getting sad, slumping over. When you notice these things, you can go to the child before anything actually happens and give voice to what they're feeling inside when they can't. So you can ask them, can you tell me with your words what's bothering you right now? I see that you're feeling restless. What can I do to help you feel a little bit more settled? By doing that, the children feel seen, and you're having a healthy interaction, putting voice to the things that are happening inside of them that they're unable to regulate on their own. That alone might help them settle down. When it doesn't, and the behavior starts to escalate and they start acting out, they're not paying attention, they're getting up and walking around, they're not listening to the assignments, they're raising their voice, talking to other kids, you can start to kind of negotiate a little bit with them. If you don't want to do yoga, would you like to go back to your room? You can say, if you don't want to sit on this, if you don't want to sit here on the mat, do you want to move over here on the mat? So giving them options again, giving children back the control over their own bodies is really important in this setting. Another thing you can do when they're still not listening is be playful and laugh. It is extraordinary how much that can actually work. When you see a child being demanding, no, I want to go over here. Whoa, are you telling me what you want to do, or are you asking me what you want to do? Giving them a little snicker, and then you'll find kids will loosen up. They'll laugh too back at you, and they'll say, no, I'm asking, or they'll say, I'm telling you, and you can say, okay, well, can you ask me with respect this time? And so you're giving them guidance on how you would like to see them show up in a setting where they don't necessarily know what's expected of them. It also takes off the severity of the situation. If you can giggle with them about it or laugh about it. Oh, I see you're monkeying around, and laughing with them about it. Hoo hoo ha ha. Well, can you come over here with me? And being really direct with them, you know, Gohan, come over here, can be really helpful. Get on their level. That helps create a sense of human connection and bonding. If you're towering over them way up here and they're having to look up, that's kind of a scary situation. But if you can crouch down on your knees, look at them eye to eye, and then start talking to them and be really direct in your communication, be brief, using as few words as possible to say what you mean, it helps them to listen. Another thing would be to lower your voice. So the natural instinct is to raise your voice in an environment that's loud. So when a kid raises their voice, it's really natural to want to speak over them to be heard. And you can pretty much guarantee in those situations you're not going to be heard. So if you can get on their level and say, hey, Amy, can you come over here with me? And look at them and lower the volume of your voice a little bit. They start to perk up and listen and pay attention. The third aspect of the relation model is correction. So this model emphasizes the need for children to be, for their behavior to be corrected in a therapeutic way. All children have a need for their correction needs to be met. This is all about demonstrating the behavior that you want to see. So I see you're having a hard time sitting still. Can you sit like this? Then maybe you sit down Indian style next to them where you want them to sit. Can you sit like this next to me? Showing them physically with your body exactly what you need them to do. Can you walk over here with me? Getting up, starting to walk with them. Come with me to the back of the room. If you notice that they're acting out, hey, come with me to the back of the room, let's chat. I see you're having a hard time. Can be really helpful to them and get them out of the environment that's overstimulating to them or making them agitated. There are a couple of, there's four kind of step-by-step process. When you see a kid acting out, first and foremost, be playful and laugh with them. Make jokes about what's going on. See if you can get them to smile, making light of the situation. If that's not working, moving to really structured and direct a form of communication. Okay, I see that you're not you're having a hard time sitting still right now. Come over here with me, or I need you to do this right now. Can give them makes really explicit exactly what you expect of them. The next would be to have a really calming engagement with them. So finding if the kid's still acting out, they've not responded to the play, they've not responded to the structure you've given them, their behavior's continuing to escalate, or they're still causing some problems, you can find a calming way to engage them. This means oftentimes removing them from the environment. So, hey, let's find a quiet space that we can chit-chat in. Hey, let's come over here to the side and do a little bit of yoga. See if that works out better for you. So taking them to a quiet space in the room where you can take a moment to help them de-escalate. The fourth thing would be a protective engagement. This is only used in situations where actually violence is happening. A kid is hitting another kid, a kid's biting another kid, pulling on another kid, interacting physically in a way that could put that child or another child at some sort of physical safety risk. And in those situations, you kind of skip step 1, 2, and 3, and you jump straight to a direct intervention, which might be getting down on their level, as we mentioned, and saying, I need you to not hit, and hold your and bring your hands to yourself. If you can't keep your hands to yourself, I'm going to have you go back to your room. So being really explicit about what is needed of them. So not just what not to do, don't hit. Well, what do you need them to do with their hands? I need you to not hit and keep your hands to yourself. And if you can't, and then a consequence, if you can't keep your hands to yourself, it'll be time to go back to the room. And from what I understand is you can, if kids are being unsafe with other kids, you are able to send them back to their room. We of course don't want to be using that regularly as some sort of punishment or consequence for scenarios where children are just acting up but being safe. That would be sort of a last resort intervention that you could use with the kids. So be direct, be brief, and give them exactly what you need them to do. Here are some things, so that's what to do. And I also want to give you some things on what absolutely in no circumstance is ever appropriate and could actually re-traumatize a kiddo and have them relive even past trauma, and further instill beliefs about violence and make their behavior worse over time. One would be never intervening physically. It's never appropriate to intervene physically with a child in this type of setting, especially in this type of program where we're bringing really therapeutic games and play to kids to impact them in a positive way. It could also put you at a liability risk and the organization, JUMPSTART, at a liability risk. So we just never want to do that. And you never know how that's going to impact a child that's already experienced their physical boundaries being violated. Which means you also never want to touch without permission. That means asking, hey, would you like a hug? Would you like a hug is a little bit better than can I give you a hug? Would you like a hug actually is asking them what they would like before intervening. A kid that's feeling shy or fearful may not quite have the voice yet to say, no, I don't feel comfortable with you giving me a hug, if you say, can I give you a hug? So asking their permission to give them a hug, pat on the back, a 10, a 5, all okay with their permission. Never yell, never raise your voice at them, and do not call them names. These kids pick up all sorts of labels about being a bad kid, being the troublesome kid, being a loser. So it's really important that we don't say things like, you're bad, or you're being so bad. If you keep behaving like that, we want to really refrain from saying any of those empowering phrases. So that's what I have for you. My number is 469-321-2107. If you have any questions about any of the information that I've given you, or if you just find yourself in a scenario working with the kids and you felt a little tripped up and didn't know what was the best way to intervene, feel free to give me a call. There's all sorts of unknown scenarios out there, and there's certainly more information that I can give you about how to help in specific situations. My email address is Ashley, ASHLEY, at ompsychotherapy.com. That's AUMPSYCHOTHERAPY.com. So Ashley at ompsychotherapy.com. Thanks, guys. Y'all enjoy.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah, you're welcome.